On today's episode of Gathering the Kings.
I like to say it like this: work-life obsession rather than balance. I'm not a fan of the word balance. And so for me, I've got wife, I've got kids, I've got, family, I've got other things that I'm interested in, even other businesses. But the point is that we as entrepreneurs, we know that we got to be all in. We've talked about that earlier here on the show. How have you gone all in on life, business, and the other things at the same time? You are listening to Gathering the Kings with Chaz Wolfe, featuring fellow 7, 8, and even 9-figure business owners who have real battle scars from business and life, but have prevailed as the king that they are designed to be. We welcome high-performing entrepreneurs to the stage in order to reveal the real of the real on what it takes to build a successful business today. We dissect the good and bad decisions they've made along the way that give a true and accurate picture of the journey of success and how you too can get there. Through this dialogue, you will learn the value of growing your network and surrounding yourself with power players and kings like today's guest. Grab your pen and notebook because we're about to dive in. What's up, everybody? I'm Chaz Wolfe, Gathering the Kings podcast. Today I've got John Zinno here on the King stage, my non-bearded brother from another mother.
Oh yeah.
What's up, dude? Welcome to the King stage.
Oh, it's great to be here, Chaz. Thank you very much.
I only had to say that because off air we were going back and forth here, and you said you took so long to shave and prepare for this. Just had to bring some respect to the clean shaven game. And we've had some bearded folks, we've had some clean guys. It's all good. We're all kings.
Oh yeah. I had to give up on the beard.
Had to give it up.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Was that a forced action from the better half?
No, she prefers beards, actually.
Okay.
But I'm not even close, so it's working out pretty well.
I love the honesty. John, tell us what kind of business that you got, brother.
So our business is DeliverThat, and we deliver catering, and we do catering and setup for restaurants around the country. We're in all 50 states, including Vancouver, Canada, hopefully Toronto soon. And last year we moved about $100 million of food.
Wow.
Been in business for about 10 years. And things are moving right along.
Things are moving and shaking.
Yeah.
That's a lot of food, man. A lot of bellies that are pleased.
Bellies.
No.
Bellies. Oh yeah.
I had a nutritionist on the show, and he was talking about meals served, through their products. And so that's what it made me think of, is just all these people get affected by you willing to stick your neck out there and freaking deliver the food, man. I love it.
Yeah. A bunch of delivery drivers here. That's all we are.
Yeah. Hey, as long as you wear a cool hat, you got a cool van, then that's all that matters.
Yep.
Okay. So I got to know, before we get into the story of the biz, I'm sure we'll get into the detail there, especially with 10 years of history and the amount of success that you've had. But what's the burning desire for John? Like, really, why are you doing this? Or really, why are you doing kind of the whole picture? What's in it for you?
Well, I think it's evolved definitely from the beginning. How we started this business in college. So, you're growing a lot in college and everything's changing and you're trying to figure things out.
Yeah.
And I wanted to make a point that I could be successful without getting a normal job. Right. Yeah. And that was after we did a couple things and learned that, okay, maybe we could make money in a different way. And, there's a whole story how we started the business, but there was always a little chip on my shoulder to do that. And okay, can we make it on our own? And now to me, it's about freedom. And now that I have a lot more freedom than I've had in the past, it's now about continuing to build not really a legacy for myself, but it seems like we're building a legacy for a lot of the people that are involved with our business.
I love it.
We have almost 20,000 drivers, 60 full-time employees. And so now I think about the gravity of, our decisions and things that we're doing every day, and it impacts way more people and children, of our employees and family members and all of that. Right. So that now is, you wake up and you think about that, and that changes your perspective, right? Because it was always more selfish. Let's build a business for us. Let's do our thing. Yeah. And now it's definitely evolved a lot. It's really cool.
Yeah. Without even knowing it, you broke down cowboy, warrior, king. Yeah. Cowboy is the chip on the shoulder. Let me just get a little wild here, see what happens. Oh, you told me I can't do that? Fine. Let me prove you wrong.
Exactly.
Warrior is, obviously selfish ambition. Let's build a business for us. Let's make money. Let's do something here. And then you get to a stage where you're like, okay, whoa, this is much bigger. This is not about me actually at all. In fact, I'm just the pyramid's upside down, right? Like I get to support, this whole entire organization with your decision. So
yeah,
you set us up beautifully for this show, man. I love it. It's like you've been part of the team.
It's just crazy to think about, last 10 years.
It is.
It's really cool. And
yeah.
I don't reflect too much. I try not to think about like the bad decisions I made, because
sure,
if I would have changed something, then who knows what it would be. But it is cool to reflect. Definitely.
Yeah. The weight that you're talking about, I want to hang here for a second, because there's a lot of times, and maybe there's even business owners listening right now that maybe haven't entered that king stage yet, right? Where they're in the battle of the grind and a little bit of selfish ambition. And there's kind of like a lot of maybe chaos and all the early years that I'm sure you and I can probably have many, many podcasts on if we wanted to. But I think that once you have the realization that you have now, it's not really like a reflection of the hard times. Like we forget about those, the bad decisions, the hard times, the sticky. It's not like we forget them, like they didn't exist. We just have an appreciation for them now, because it's literally what built us or built the business or gave the opportunity to our people. And so, like you said, it's perspective. Would you agree?
Exactly. Yeah, I
love it, man.
I've been able to put some memories somewhere else and not, it's like RAM and hard drive, right? It's just like,
that's right.
I've definitely built a skill to forget some things that I don't need to remember, some of the difficult things and things like that.
All right, John. Well, that was great. Appreciate that. Let's talk about how you started the business. You said you were in college trying to figure things out. You just kind of wanted to see if you could make money, maybe a non-traditional way. Give us a little bit of the backdrop here.
Yeah, so definitely wasn't just me. All right, a lot of people involved in this thing, but we were pledging a fraternity. We're at a high university. It's 2013 November, first really cold day. And since we're pledging, you know what that comes with. They just tell you what to do.
That's right.
So we're studying Thursday night at the library. One of the brothers say, hey, we can't go to the dining hall anymore, but you guys still have, your swipes. You get X amount of swipes per week. So go use, all of them tonight for food for, all the brothers, right? So him and I walk down there and he looks at me, he's like, people would pay for this, right? And Uber existed, but DoorDash maybe was just in San Francisco,
Sure.
There's no Uber Eats. There's no really food delivery besides pizza and Chinese, right?
Right.
And I agreed with them. Yeah, of course, people would pay for this. But, I just did a quick thought. Well, we don't even have a car. How would this even work? Right? It's just, I don't have a bike. We had longboards, right? That's all we had.
Yeah.
And we make a Twitter that night, make a Facebook. We stop studying. And so that's Thursday, and Monday rolls around and we have 3,000 followers on Twitter. People are, you just say you're going to deliver Chipotle, that was it, right?
Done.
It was pretty simple. It was low.
Millionaire overnight.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And but we had all these followers that still never had any deliveries coming in. And then finally someone orders, and then, we get a picture of it and everything. And people are like, wow, it's actually real. So, we do that in college, end up graduating in 2016. We launched a couple other campuses, found how difficult it was.
Mm-hmm.
2016, we come back home to Canton, Ohio, Football Hall of Fame. Not a big city, right? More of a town, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
But there's some money here. So we knew people would do it. So we get an app made. The app isn't that good. And we struggle a lot. We go to a couple other campuses. We get kicked off a couple campuses.
Uh-huh.
Oh yeah, run around a mascot, all this stuff. And we come back home to Canton, kind of with our tail between our legs, and we go into Ruby Tuesday. And we're just pushing this on-demand delivery model, this DoorDash stuff.
Right.
And we go into this Ruby Tuesday. Guy says, yeah, we'll do your on-demand stuff. No expectations, whatever. But I have catering deliveries literally sitting right there on the counter. I'll pay you to do those.
Yeah.
We weren't making any money, right? So Aaron, my partner, Aaron, we were making no money at the time. Living at home, I think I got a car lease. It was $100 a month. I don't know how that was possible, but that's what it was. Yeah. So we needed no money to survive. And thankfully we could stay at home. And we started delivering these catering orders. We take the first one, we get a $30 tip. And we're like, okay, I know a lot of drivers that would like to do this.
Yeah.
So we start working with them, and that's ends up being, 2017, we really start to get into catering. And, you know, now we're delivering a lot of food. Now we're in every
That's right.
state, 10,000 zip codes, but even if you go back a little further, when COVID hit, we were running pretty well. COVID hits, and we're delivering catering to offices, right? So all the offices close.
Yep.
Hospitals, no one can go in there.
Yep.
And business goes down 90% literally overnight. And, we don't really know what to do. We start looking into Amazon packages and start looking at on-demand model again, right? The Chipotle burritos, those types of things.
Mm-hmm.
And then we started taking over a little more market share. And now we're the kings of catering.
Yeah, I love it. And obviously catering has come back and you weathered the storm, but I loved how you built a little niche in there and you built a niche basically off of an opportunity, really.
That's it. Yeah.
It wasn't any market research. I didn't hear any of that. It was like,
no way.
You want me to deliver that?
Yep.
I'll deliver that.
Yeah, exactly. Just
trying to give you a little play on words here on the name here, but
Yeah.
I love it. I the tenacity of it really, I think, is what most entrepreneurs could probably relate with, and just sheer grit. Just we created something from nothing.
Yep. Definitely.
What would you say now, looking back on those early years? Because again, it's like it's you maybe you'd agree with this, but I liken it to the Facebook story. Like, you hear, it's on campus and they kind of get together in a dorm, and over a couple of days they create this platform, and so looking back though, it probably wasn't as like maybe magical. Like you said, there was a lot of difficulty. We went to a different campus and got shut down. Like a lot of no's early on, it sounded like.
Oh yeah.
What kept you going at that time?
Well, then we really wanted to prove that we could do our own thing. And I always thought, well, the risk is pretty low because I could always go get a job. Right. Like, ended up graduating, got a degree.
What could you lose?
Right. We could always go get a job. And I kept thinking that it would just be harder and more difficult the longer we waited. Right. You get a wife, have kids, things just get harder and harder. You have a mortgage, bigger car payment. So I listened to a lot of like motivational speakers and things like that, and business owners, and just tried to understand how they thought, when they were starting. And I just kept following, what some of these guys were saying, and basically just never took no for an answer.
Yeah. There's a couple of things inside of there that I want to just highlight, of course, to give you kudos for, but just for the listener, is there's a little bit of blind optimism when you start out, right? or maybe it's covered up by the ego of I'm going to prove you wrong, right? Like either way, there's a little bit of blind action. Yep. That's kind of what faith is, though, right? Like you had a burning desire to figure it out. Your faith was strong enough to where you're just kind of like, whether it was blind or you kind of just kept putting it to the side, going like, yeah, well, let's just keep going to see what happens. The alternative is to go get a job, which I don't really want to do right now or ever. So let's just try this a little longer. And you kind of just like persisted through the problem. Would you agree with that?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. I feel like, people would talk about luck and things like that.
Right.
And I don't really know what luck is. It seems like the more you put yourself out there, the more consistent you are, the more something finds you, I think luck is just like a bad term to use, but I think luck finds you if you're willing to, be in its way.
That's right. Yeah. And you can't be on it in its way, getting the job instead of building the business or whatever it is for the listener. For you, that's what it was. It was like, if I go do this, then I can't do this. And so let me just persist here.
Exactly.
What would you say to the guy listening right now, or maybe a young lady and they're starting off, or maybe they've built a big business, they're doing 50 million and they need to like go all in? Because that's really like underneath it all. It's like you went all in, like for real.
Yep.
What would you say to that person? Either at the top of the scale, at the bottom of the scale, but they got to go all in. What would you say?
To the bottom, I would say, even if you're wrong, right? Even if, you're starting this business and you don't think people are going to buy it, you should just start. Because eventually, we started this business and it was a hit early, right? So we didn't struggle much right in the beginning. Yeah, it was really hard to actually execute. And we didn't know anything about marketing. We were just tweeting and people loved it. And then we learned quickly, we went to other campuses, that isn't really a strategy that you can bank on. We didn't have a name on any other campus, so people didn't really care. if this
Yeah.
random company came in. But I think I would just start.
Yeah.
And you'll learn. And that's just it, right? Sure, it's easier said than done, but we did it. So I think it's okay that I can frame it in that way,
Yeah.
I think if you're actually consistent and you actually try and you give it more than, a month, 3 months, 6 months, a
3
year,
years.
right? It's, maybe you're building a podcast, maybe you're building whatever. Just
Right.
because you're not getting views early doesn't mean you're wrong.
Right.
Right. There's a lot of competition out there, right?
That's right.
It's a war for attention.
Yeah.
And you have these billion-dollar companies who are pretty damn good at getting attention, right? So
Yeah.
there's a lot of competition. But if you just work consistently and continue to go and go and go, eventually you'll find a problem that's worth solving, even if the problem
Yeah.
you find right now isn't worth solving.
Yeah. Yeah. Give a quick note here, just because you mentioned podcasts, and obviously they're listeners, and we're on this podcast specifically right here. So we launched a little over a year ago. We've done almost 300 shows, which is pretty crazy in the podcast world. But just get my head down and kept recording. And we don't have the best equipment, and this, that, or the other. And we've got a good team, but we just consistent. That's all. I just look at record, cut it up, put it out consistently, and we'll over the course of time figure things out. And I'll tell you just a little bit of a progression here, and maybe this will be helpful for the listener too. But early on, it was like, me asking people who had smaller businesses than me, and it was like, please come to my podcast, and friends and all of that. And it was fine.
Yep.
Then it turned into people going, okay, like, I see what you're doing. Sure. I'll throw you a bone. Get on my podcast.
Yep. Yeah,
Then it turned into,
that's it.
hey,
Sure.
sure. Yeah, sure. Exactly. Then it turned into, okay, yeah, I see what you're doing. This is pretty cool. Thanks for having me. Then it turned into admiration of like, dude, this guy has a way bigger business than me. And he's like, thank you for having me. Then it turned into people sending me gifts. Like, I get packages every week, it seems like now, of just stuff because we just try to be valuable. And over the course of time, and look, we're not the number one podcast on businesses yet, but like you said, it's just a journey of just being consistent. Would you like to add anything to that on your side of the story?
No, I think, I mean, the consistency is the biggest piece. Sure, you can mess up and you can be wrong and you could be right, whatever.
Yeah.
Maybe you get a big deal early on, right? But it doesn't continue to pay or
Right.
whatever. But I think it's just eventually you'll find your way. And if relying on, for me, I never wanted to rely on someone else for, my well-being. I always felt like that was more risky than the other side, right?
Yeah.
You work at a job for 20 years and you get laid off because they had a bad year. What are they supposed to do, right? They're running a business, right?
Right.
I think depending on what your why is, it's got to be pretty strong because it gets pretty tough.
Yep.
Especially if you're not seeing any results for a long time. But
that's right.
Yeah, it's just try it. That's it. Just
good stuff, man. Let's talk about a good decision that you've made. It could be in the early years. It could be maybe even through COVID, because obviously that was a big deal. But tell me about a good decision that you made that you can clearly look back and go, okay, when we did this, we grew, we had success, fill in the blank, and something that maybe we can implement into our own businesses.
Well, saying yes, of course, to his idea, always a good one. Twice, right? The actually starting and then when we pivoted to catering. But
Right.
I think, COVID hit and it was bad. We dipped into our line of credit. We were really just
hanging on,
trying to keep things going. Thankfully, we only had one person, fall off, one employee. But the decision to continue to be consistent during COVID, sure,
Right.
there was a little rough patch in there for all of us.
Yeah.
But COVID reinvented our entire business. We used to, someone in person met every single driver that we brought on the platform. COVID hit, took it all virtual.
Yep.
And that completely revolutionized our business because I used to go to every city to launch. I went to like 35 states. That was, 2017 to up until COVID. We were literally in Canada 1 week before they closed the borders.
Wow.
So we were I was traveling all the time. And to really revolutionize the business during COVID, that decision to onboard drivers virtually, that to me, I think was the biggest decision, the best decision we've made with this business. Sure, we're doing things with technology and things now, but
Sure.
That changed it all.
So you were pinched. It forced you to creatively solve a problem that you hadn't been forced to solve before, but in a new way. Is that the lesson to take away from that? Like, put yourself in a situation or force yourself to think differently. How do we take that and go, okay, I can't replicate COVID again, but how do I replicate this in my business today?
I'm hesitant to say that you should throw yourself in a bad position to try and get a good result.
Sure.
I think if you're put in a bad position, that your mindset shouldn't change, and you should say,
Yeah.
okay,
Here's my moment.
I'm reading a book right now by Rick Rubin, and he talks about this specific thing.
Okay.
And he says, look at your life from a third person perspective, or like as a story, right? And when something bad happens to you, you'd say, oh, wow, I'm excited to see what this guy, this hero, this whatever does next.
Yeah.
And without knowing it, that's what we've been doing.
Yeah.
And I think that kind of sums it up, where it's like,
Good.
Is it bad? Might not be. COVID was so bad for our business, right? Of course, bad for so many other reasons, right?
Sure.
But it was actually the best thing for our business, throughout the whole, 9.5, 10 years. It was the best thing that ever happened to us. And I would have never, ever guessed that, right? Right when it started, when we're in the middle of it, thinking it'll never end.
Yeah.
So I think it's reframing that it's just an event. It might not be bad or good,
Yeah. Just is.
Yeah. I think that without knowing that we've been looking at it like that, we have. And I think that's been the difference big time.
Yeah. I love that. I think that, obviously not categorizing an emotion of good or bad to a situation or to a season in business, whatever, is exactly, the principle that you're referring to in that book. So it's tough to do that because in the moment you feel the emotion of it being good or bad, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's definitely easier said than done, easier way after the fact. Right. But I think to even just have a frame of mind, even if you don't do it, right? Just to say that could be a way that you could look at it. I think it's valuable.
Yeah. If anything, you've at least told your subconscious that this is a possible way to solve this. And so you're giving yourself an on-ramp potentially. I think ideally we want to be in that place where we go right to that solution where this just is, and I need to figure out how to, puzzle piece the situation together to make it work. That's kind of what we do as entrepreneurs, really.
Yeah,
it's kind of, it kind of gets a bad rap sometimes with like just constant problems, but it's kind of what we do is we just solve problems over and over, right?
That's it. That's really all it is. I'm not really an expert in any specific area. I like to solve problems, right?
Yeah.
Really good at Googling.
Yeah.
Now it's Chat GPT, right? Just really
100%. Well, and Google's assistant is right behind it. So it might be Google again. You never know.
Oh yeah. They're building that big brain.
Oh yeah. Yeah. They weren't even concerned. Let Chat GPT run with it for a few months. Let them get all the glory. We'll come in right behind it and ride the coattails. Okay. What about a bad choice or something that you did where it just didn't work out so good? Help us out. What can we stay away from?
What can you stay away from? Yeah. Well, it was also COVID. And
stay away from COVID. Don't do COVID ever again.
Yes, no COVID. Yeah. Don't do any COVID. So, our business cratered, we're not paying ourselves anymore. And that's, for the foreseeable future, because it just looks really bad.
It just is.
Right.
Yep.
So, I download Robinhood. What else would you do? And, after the market completely crashes, I figure it'll keep going down. Right. So I start getting into options. I'm trying to become a trader.
You're all of a sudden an expert.
Quickly realize that is a whole entire business, trade, skill, job, career, whatever.
Yeah.
That you don't just pick up because you can make money over in this industry. So, hey, now since I can make money, I know how to trade. And that took a lot of my focus away from the business. I had employees trading with us. I'm giving people tips. I'm doing all this stuff and we didn't know what to do. I was like, well, let's just try and stay alive here. I think we can make money. I've done tons of different things to make money, make ends meet.
Yeah.
But I would think taking my eye off the prize and that was for a brief, definitely the first month, maybe even 2 months in, still doing stuff with the business, but that was secondary. I'd wake up and look at the market and see, what's going on. And I think staying focused, because I've always tried to sit on my hands and not try to do too much, right? Because I could easily go, maybe start dipping into real estate, and I just always looking for opportunities.
Sure.
But there's this opportunity of our business is always just staring me right in the face, and I have
That's
to,
right.
be honest with myself. Well, you're good at this. You know what you're doing here. Let's stick with this. And I completely let that trying to make money get in the way of building a legacy here, building a business.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was big.
It's an interesting moment for you because the listener might be going, well, I mean, the dude had to eat. What else was he supposed to do? I mean, you could have done a lot of things, honestly, but all of them would have been, in essence, a distraction, even though in that moment you were just thinking survival. I remember being in that moment, going, well, this is interesting.
Yeah.
Let's see what we can do here. And I think even whole businesses that I've done in the past have been a distraction.
Yeah.
So I think that it's difficult in that moment where you're like, you weren't just like playing.
Mm-hmm.
You were playing, but it was like, well, this over here is like you said, being crushed. So it kind of almost like warranted your attention going elsewhere for a little period of time. But what I'm hearing you say is that, man, if I had just taken even that extra month or two to really dial in, probably could have pivoted faster, probably could have made a different, move.
Yep.
All of those things that we kind of just miss when we're here, there, and everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the thing, you can only focus on so many things, right? Really can only focus on one thing at a time, realistically. And I've just been trying to make sure that I continue to stay that way and just make sure my focus is, lasered in on one thing.
Yeah.
The most important thing,
For the younger Chaz listening right now, because I can, years ago, probably even now, still today, they're listening, guy or gal, and they're like, how do you do that? How do you stay focused, John? Like, what are the tactics? What's the secret? Because we want to be all over the place. It's like, I got 15 million browsers open. I'm excited about new projects, something new. And it just keeps me energized. It kind of a little bit based on our personality a little bit, but like, how do I really hone?
I wish I had the answers. I've failed so many times in just trying to stay focused throughout the years.
Yeah.
And it's definitely easier to reflect. And now it's easier that I've done it and I can look back at the mistakes I made.
Yeah.
To really say, I think you need to understand what you're good at. And that's not saying you can't go learn new things. Definitely not saying that, right? That's all entrepreneurship is learning and testing new theories and whatever.
That's right.
But being honest with yourself that let's do one thing at a time.
Yeah.
Until you've earned the freedom or, you've built the skill set to do other things, but if you're building a business or you're trying to build something, you probably shouldn't also be building other things at the same time.
Right.
I know they say there's the magic number of 7 sources of income, all that stuff. But I think that comes after you've maximized your first, you go really, if you look at anyone that's ultra successful, they went really hard on one thing. And then that allowed them to do other things.
Right.
I don't think you starting with 7 mediocre businesses is really better. 7 mediocre income streams. Is that really better than one really good one?
Right.
Could be in certain situations, I guess, but probably not. Right. Once you build one really good one, then go build another good one, or maybe now that you build a really good one, now you have a team, right?
Yeah.
Now we have a team and I have a network that I can rely on to help me do other things whenever we want to do them,
Yeah. Yeah.
I think give it time and you'll be able to do more, but I think you need to earn the ability, the respect, the whatever to do more.
Yeah. There's break points in essence through the business, and we get either burnt out or bored, or it's just a little hard to kind of break through to the next level. We got to build a bigger team, or we have to bring in a higher caliber individual, someone maybe who's even better than us. And all of those things are, like you said, another level of learning. And so we kind of tend to shy away and just go, well, let me just go build this other thing over here. Yeah. Even within my first franchise, it's like, I had a bunch of locations. And so they were, I felt all over the place. But when I look back on it, I was like, yes, I was doing that, but I was building my individual pod of them. And I did that I still have a few of them, but I was really building only that for about 7 years. And as distracted as I think that I was, I mean, I did that one business, a lot of locations, a lot of stuff going on.
Oh yeah.
But one business, one brand for 7 years. And it's like, okay, like that's actually, then you transition to something else or add something on. And it's maybe not necessarily a revenue point or an income point or a team size point. I think that we all kind of determine that, on our own, but it's probably more or bigger than what you think. Would you agree?
Agreed. Completely.
Yeah. It's usually just that break point that you're just like, you don't really want to press into. And you're just like, okay, next.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. It gets a little difficult. You're like, I could go do something else. Right.
That's right.
Easily.
That's right. What's your decision-making process now, John? Like something comes across your desk, you've been through all that you've been through in the last decade. Is there a certain formula that you follow?
I would say it probably depends on what it is, but say a problem comes across my desk. Before I would drop everything and trust the information that came across my desk wholeheartedly.
Yeah.
And say, oh, this is a problem because someone
I'm
brought
gonna
it to
put
my
it-
attention, right?
You're
They
right.
think it's a problem. It's got to be a problem. What I've found is that a lot of times problems are framed as solutions, or maybe solutions are framed as problems. And that is brought across. And really, I need to take a step back and dig a little deeper. Is that actually the problem that they're
Sure.
encountering? Is
Right.
it?
Or is that a symptom?
Is that a symptom?
Right.
So now I wouldn't say I have a specific process. It's just slower and
Yeah.
getting all of the facts. Before it would be restaurant said this, driver said that, got to be a problem. And you start finding out, people have different motivations. Maybe the driver is going to get charged for being late. So he's telling me this reason for this, or we're going to
Mhm.
charge the restaurant for doing this, or they want to give a refund and they're blaming everything on us. Is that actually the truth? And you start to find out that
Right.
maybe there's a little more human nature in
Mhm.
here, a little more motivation somewhere that you don't see. Understanding, the motivation of whoever's bringing something to your desk. That's definitely part of my mindset.
Yeah. Yeah. Two things that came to my mind there that I think are just super applicable, not only to what you're saying, but to my own story, is just around asking more questions. I think guys that are entrepreneurs, or ladies, people that are entrepreneurs, move fast. Speed is our friend. And I agree with that. So I think speed is our friend, but rushing, there's a difference between speed and rushing. And what you're describing is how you rushed to make decisions, or rushed really to action without the full detail. And it's always good to ask them. And if you know how to ask good questions, here's a little secret for you. You listen based on the information that they just said, ask a question that's pertinent to that information.
Yep.
And then they're going to give you a response. And then guess what? Ask a question based on that response specifically. Just take it down like a couple, 2-3 layers deeper, and you get all the information that you need. Then you can either spring into action with the restaurant or not.
Yeah. Yeah.
In fact,
Yeah,
this
it's
is a
kinda
monkey, and I need you to take the monkey out of my office, please.
Yes. It's drop the ego on that first pass, right? It's like, let's just listen. Okay.
Mm.
Let's talk about that information, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
No question.
Good. It's good. Okay. Speed round coming at you here. First question is on KPIs. I say it like this. What is the one thing that you would track forever and ever if you could only pick one?
I don't know if I would categorize this exactly as a KPI, but to me, it's just freedom in general.
Okay.
And maybe you could frame it as a KPI as, how many times, pick a time frame, how many times a month can you go and do whatever you want to do, right? And that doesn't mean that you just aren't going to work. Like, I love to wake up early, work. I love to do that. So
Right.
I don't look at that as a negative part, but I know if I get my stuff done, I can go play golf. I can go to the gym. I can go big sauna guy, go take a sauna, right? And do whatever, right?
Yeah.
So to me, it's however you can, put a metric on freedom. That's all I think life is really about.
Yeah. It's interesting what, that phrase, I'm not sure if I'll get it right, but the person, the hard worker is concerned about always being a hard worker, but they're the ones that work hard the most anyway.
Yep.
I totally butchered that, but I'm sure my editor maybe throw it in on the screen or something. I don't know. But the reality here is that if you're concerned about working hard, then you're probably in the right lane. So like you said, I wake up, I love to work. I'm not really, I'm not overly worried about working. because I know for sure I'm going to show up probably earlier and probably do a whole lot more than most people in my business, as I should. I'm the owner. But that also gives you freedom.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean,
it is the equal exchange.
yeah, I think, to say freedom is, everything might be a stretch, but I think it's just to feel that you're doing what you want to do. I don't know what I'm here to do. I don't think anyone really does, right? But I think to at least honestly say that you're doing what you want to do, that to me is freedom, right? Even if you're not golfing 24/7 or not, doing this and that, right? If you at least have the freedom that you're choosing to work hard, you're choosing to work on this, you're choosing to do this and that to me, that's so important.
Yeah, you're defining freedom not necessarily as leisurely activities, but to be able to do what you want when you want, which can also be given and taught to your team and to your team's families. And you can teach them the same principle, even though they quote unquote work for you and maybe they aren't an entrepreneur. You can still teach them this way of understanding input output, because that's really what we're talking about. We're talking about the leverage of input output.
Exactly.
I think we'd probably both agree if we had an employee that freaking rocked every KPI possible, early, late, that pretty much anything that they want, they're going to get. Now, I say that obviously loosely, but it's like there's freedom in you performing. There's freedom in you making hard choices. Like, this is what we've done as a business owner. We've made hard choices and we've persisted and we've held on to it. Like, so we've performed. Okay. There's freedom in that. And that can also work as a team member, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, I could see what feeling the freedom does for me. So I can only imagine what it would do for someone that works with us. Right.
Yeah.
Completely agree.
Yeah. When you can give what's impactful to you, it's like a whole nother layer of fulfillment, really.
Yeah.
Next question for you is, what book would you recommend? Or maybe you have a business resource that you like that you can recommend to the listeners.
I have a lot of good books, but I think the one that really, at the time you could say ruined everything, right? Like going, I was studying to be an engineer, right? So that completely ruined it. But Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Okay.
That definitely did. And then that was framing my mind for business, which was necessary, and understand what being a business owner meant.
Mm-hmm.
Very easy read, quick, great one. And then How to Win Friends and Influence People. It sounds more, and I'm sure a lot of people have read it, but it sounds more maybe negative than positive, right? How to influence people, right?
Yeah.
But there's just some principles in there. Your name is your favorite word, right?
Timeless.
So tell people their name, call them by their name, say it often.
Yep.
There's some things in there that I use every single day, and that have definitely made a big impact. So I think those two for now. I have a whole list, but
yeah. Actually, it's funny because How to Win Friends and Influence People, obviously it's one of the classics and it gets recommended often, but even just this week, I think it's been recommended 3 times. And so yesterday I'm flying back. I told you I was on a flight, and I listened to 2 books, one on the way down, one on the way back. I'm like, maybe I should pick up Win Friends. It's been a minute. It's been a couple years.
Yep.
But you're right. Like the basic things, like, okay, the listeners don't know this because it's all behind the scenes, but I ask every guest, how do you say your name? How do you say your last name? And there's been some guests on here where I don't know.
I'm sure.
And I'm sure I butchered them completely, and they were nice and they made me feel good about it. But my attempt to say their name properly is because names are important in general, but they're also important to them. And who am I trying to bring value to? Number 1, the audience. Number 2, my guest, right? So you're 100% right. I love it. What do you think about intentionally networking or masterminding with other entrepreneurs?
Always good. I mean, I've seen quotes, you're only as strong or only as whatever as your network.
Right. Yep.
For me, I didn't really start purposefully building my network until like the last couple of years.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
I felt like I had more stuff to build.
That's right.
That wasn't, hey, let's go grab a beer and talk about what we could do when I'm not doing my business. Right. That's kind of how I've been looking at networking a lot, where it's like, okay, what could I do outside of my business? Your network gives you a lot of potential clients, customers, a friend of a friend of a friend.
Yeah.
So I would definitely say it's extremely valuable. Just don't make that your job. Right.
That's right.
Focus on the task at hand. build your network by proving that you're valuable over
Yeah.
here. Right.
It's good. Yeah. When you come to the table, whether it's networking to try to get clients or masterminding, just trying to grow yourself and put yourself in a room with people that are also high caliber, you bringing value first is what I'm hearing you say is actually what then returns probably someone who's going to bring insight or a collaboration or a connection to you, because no one's going to want to connect with you if you don't bring value in either scenario.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And I found it difficult while we were building the business to find, people that I could network with. I didn't feel like I had much to give. So it was just me taking, and sure, there's mentors out there that maybe are finished with their career or people that love to coach and feel good about it, whatever. But I feel like those are, I haven't found them myself. Now, I didn't go out searching crazy for it, but I found that difficult to find.
Yeah.
So I feel like if you are able to bring the value, then the network starts to build much quicker. Right.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah. It's interesting that you give that perspective, because you're right. There are mentors and coaches, and I've had both, but part of the reason why Gathering the Kings is today is because I just kind of got to a point where I was like, all right, well, I'll just, rather than me searching for the guy that I can sit at his feet, why don't I just fill a room with just incredible people? They're going to get value from me. I get value from them. And then this peer aspect, of course, there's plenty that I'm learning, of course, but it doesn't have to, like, I think I didn't give up. I'm still, there's even one specific guy in the group that I've spent extra time with, but building the network is what brought that to me, not necessarily just seeking out, quote unquote, a mentor. Although I still think that that's very applicable, especially for smaller businesses where you need coaching, you need X's and O's, like you need to hit the repeat button, you need accountability, like all these things, which is great. We still need those things as a big business owner. It just looks a little different,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I remember, in college, we were just trying to get advice from, professors and couldn't find any.
Good luck.
Going to different professors.
Wrong place.
I haven't owned a business. I'm like, well, what am I supposed to do? So
I turned to page 93. No,
exactly. Right. So, I never want to talk bad about where I went, because there's no way I'd be sitting here if I didn't go to college. But man, you learn a lot by just trying and doing and failing. And failing, everyone says it's a great thing. It truly is, right? It's the only way.
It's good. It's good. I got a question for you about obsession. I like to say it like this: work-life obsession rather than balance. I'm not a fan of the word balance. And so for me, I've got a wife, I've got kids, I've got, family, I've got other things that I'm interested in, even other businesses. But the point is that we as entrepreneurs, we know that we got to be all in. We've talked about that earlier here on the show. How have you gone all in on life, business, and the other things at the same time?
Well, I would say that I'm not the expert on going in on both, because, college, we were working all the time, right? You can only pay, another college, friend so much to manage your own business, right? So the phone's ringing, you're answering it. We're at the bar, we're ready to take a delivery at any time, right? And then after college, I didn't have any balance. It was only work. I'd be, you could imagine just deliveries all around the country. We're just trying to get drivers on them, right? Calling drivers left and right. So for those from 2016 till COVID, it was traveling all the time, not focusing on my actual life. It was just building the business, because I felt like that was the key to everything.
Right.
And it's definitely opened a lot of doors, but I don't think it is the key to everything. And really up until now, I haven't really had any balance at all. Yeah. And to me, I feel like I earned the balance now, and that I don't know if I would have, if I had a girlfriend while I was traveling all the time,
right?
I might think twice about saying yes to the next trip every time with no worry.
That's true.
I would say I'm definitely not the expert on the balance. I was, I completely got out of shape. I didn't play basketball, which is my favorite thing to do, for years. And it was just work. But now,
to clarify here, there's seasons, right? There's seasons, and I'm not a fan of balance either. I'm the worst. That's typically why I even bring it up, is because, I've had conversations with my wife about this many, many times. Now I continue to try to get better, But I think it's the same thing for all of us. I trapped you. Sorry.
It's fair. I was like, I don't think you can build a business by just being, completely.
No, there is no such thing as balance, but that's okay. I think that there's, especially even seasons. I love the way that you broke it down. There's a season, especially at the beginning of a business, where it's like, hey, look, there is a certain list, and I'm either going to do it or I'm not. And if I'm not, the business isn't going to be successful. Don't even try it. Just go 9 to 5.
Yep.
Right? Like,
yeah,
that's just kind of how it is.
Right? Low risk. Well, there's risk elsewhere.
Yeah.
Lower risk to your
different kind of risk
life, right?
Yeah.
To your balanced life.
Yeah.
And that's why I said earlier, it gets harder, right?
That's right.
More stuff you have, more people you have, more people who rely on you. It just gets harder and harder and harder. And that's why I felt like I went so hard then, where it was, okay, I can do this, right?
Yep.
This is probably the only time I should be doing it like this.
Right.
And then I also did enjoy it too, right? It was nice to build something that's yours.
Yeah.
You go do a meeting and say, yeah, this is my business. I'm trying to sell you my business. It's a different feeling, right?
Yeah. Yeah. What I think we can both agree on is that it takes obsession to be successful. And so whether it's the season that you're in, it may be over here, it may be over there. I was married when I was building my businesses, even with a few young kids earlier on. And it's like, okay, well, I just needed to communicate what season I was in, right? Because there were plenty of days and nights where I wasn't there. Maybe I slipped in for 30 minutes to put them down to bed, and then back to the office I went, from job to the business before I left, or whatever. And so there's a lot of sacrifice maybe that's made, but that is what obsession is.
Yep.
And it doesn't mean that you're always sacrificing family. It just means that at some point, like you said, you've earned or you've built something that gives you a little bit of freedom. So now it's like, okay, well, it's a little easier now to be obsessed in all things because I did the work.
Yeah, and I do the same thing. I living with my girlfriend, been living with her for 2 years, right? So we're inching there, right? We're pretty close, right? Conversation comes up, every week.
Oh,
right.
Hey, I had a jeweler here on the show like 6 months ago. I'll hook you up.
Sure you did. And the main thing is, I'll let her know when, it's gonna be a different type of week, right?
Yeah,
it's just
exactly.
Just let me do my thing, and she sees, right? She sees how valuable it is if she lets me do my thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm sure it would have took me a little bit longer when I was younger to learn that that's all it took, was to have some good communication. But
that's right.
I think you're spot on.
It's good stuff, man. I got one last question here for you, John. Might sound a little weird because we're both young guys, but if you had a chance to whisper in the younger John's ear, what would you say?
That you're doing the right thing. Trust it. Just keep going.
Yeah.
Right. Because I think so many times I wanted to quit, and I wanted to go do something else, and I wanted to be a, pro mountain biker, or, whatever. I almost quit school and moved to LA, junior year. I was so close. And I just didn't believe that I was making the right decision. I felt like the grass was greener somewhere else. If you're working hard, just trust it.
Yeah, that's good, man.
That'd be my advice for someone else. But for me, it was just keep going.
Head down. Let's go.
Yeah.
Love it, man. John, how can we find you? Number one, your services. Maybe there's a restaurant listening right now and they need to have you deliver their food or catering. Or is there a way that consumers can reach you? And then, of course, is there a way business owners can connect with you just to talk business?
I'm on LinkedIn personally. I don't do too much social media outside of that, but always reachable there. Our website's DeliverThat.com. Very simple. We do not work with end customers at the moment. Well, we're thinking about it, but we work directly with restaurants. So, if you need any help with catering delivery, helping you build a catering business, our drivers have equipment, they're professional, they'll do what you want them to do. DeliverThat.com. Nice and easy.
Love it. Love it. You've been incredible. You've been vulnerable. You've been awesome. Been honest. So I appreciate the story and just your history, your perspective. I think that we could probably just keep going for a long time, going back and forth on some more stories. But for now, we'll end it, and I just wish you nothing but blessing in your team and your business, all the things that you guys are growing in 2023. Thanks for being here, John.
Thank you, Chaz. Thank you for the time. This is cool.
Thank you for listening to Gathering the Kings today. I hope that you were able to pull out a few nuggets to go apply into your business right away. More importantly, though, I hope that you're realizing that it takes more to be successful than just being by yourself, doing it all on your own, carrying the weight all by yourself. What I have realized, not only in my own journey from multiple businesses and multiple different industries, and now interviewing literally over 200 or 300 other very successful 7, 8, and 9-figure business owners, is that it's tough to do it alone. And so Gathering the Kings literally exists to bring together successful entrepreneurs. In fact, we are putting together 1,000 kings, specifically who are grateful but not done. We're intentionally assembling kings who fight tooth and nail for their business, family, and communities. And here's what we believe, that in the pursuit of excellence in those areas, that it ignites within us the responsibility to govern power and forge a lasting legacy. So if that relates and resonates with you, and you know that you need people around you, sharp, qualified, other very successful business owners, I want you to go to gatheringthekings.com. I want you to take a look at what we're doing and see if it makes sense for you to be part of our pursuit to 1,000 kings. Talk soon.